The opposition's attempt to have whistleblower legislation enacted in PEI was defeated today. The bill died after a barrage of questions and comments by government members. Premier Robert Ghiz said the bill was flawed and poorly researched. John Jeffrey has more.
Opposition leader Olive Crane introduced her whistleblower legislation to reporters this morning with the backings of an expert on such legislation. David Hutton is with the Canadian charity called FAIR. That's the Federal Accountability Initiative for Reform.
So we want to endorse this bill as being a very valuable initiative and one that will achieve the purpose.
The bill was designed to protect public servants from reprisals when they report wrongdoings in government. But when Crane took the bill to the floor of the legislature for second reading, it came under fierce attack by government ministers and backbenchers, and Premier Robert Ghiz said it was unnecessary.
We've had our PSC lawyers look at it, and they say, I'll quote, "It can be stated that legislation whistleblower is unnecessary as internal disclosure of information to authorized department personnel is already permitted."
We're saying now the Auditor General is no good in investigating these things?
Unless you agree with her.
What's wrong with the Auditor General doing investigations here? It's under the Act right now. It's under the legislation right now.
An important piece to protect from here on forward, to make sure, that the person is protected.
I agree with the principle. I agree with the principle.
And I think
so we don't have to go over that. I want to know examples of whether or not what we have currently, not your bill, but what we have currently addresses what you're talking about.
Because it's a terribly flawed piece of legislation. It gives no strength for recourse for employees going forward any stronger than what we have now.
Government's opposition to this Whistleblower Protection Act was relentless, and many ministers said that there was legislation now which protected employees and required them to report frauds and wrongdoings. Olive Crane said her legislation would protect them from reprisals such as job loss, demotions, and harassments. At the close of the debate, Premier Robert Ghiz said the whistleblower legislation was a good idea, but flawed, because he said there was stronger legislative protection already in place. He was referring to a couple of pieces of legislation in particular, including the Auditor General's Act and the Fraud Awareness Act. With that, government members voted down opposition's Whistleblower Protection Act. John Jeffrey, CBC News, Charlottetown.